We're going to paint some beautiful sci-fi models that will teach you how to paint miniatures better, but with a twist. Instead of picking my own colors, I asked you guys for color schemes, and I'm taking the top 3 suggestions and using those. By the end, you'll be more confident in picking out your own custom schemes, and we'll also discuss why this type of figure is saving my hobby and maybe yours. Let's get started with the first model. The first suggestion is the beloved orange and teal. Well, we're gonna skip that for now, and I'll tell you why closer to the end of the video. On to the next one, which is dark seafoam and whole red. Both seafoam and whole red aren't exact colors, so with a quick Google search, I think I found something that fits the bill. I chose to lean more into the seafoam part of the scheme, choosing that color for this character's jacket. Now, to highlight this jacket, let's get a little funky. Seafoam green, or at least the color that I'm using, seems to be a mostly blue-based green color. And I want to make this jacket kind of a desaturated, muddy color. And to make this less blue, I'm going to mix in orange, which is on the opposite side of the color wheel. Now, this orange has some white in it, so it should lighten it up for the purposes of highlighting, but not enough. So I'm going to mix in some white as well. If I did just all orange, it would probably start to look a little bit orange, and I don't want that. I just want to kill the saturation a little bit. To make this color brighter while not further changing the color, I'll just mix in some white ink, and I'll keep doing that for a total of 3 highlights. These models are so great, and I'm so excited to paint them because they're very basic. There aren't many small details that detract from the model, so not only do they paint up more quickly, but you can really focus your efforts on trying out one thing. In this case, some fun schemes supplied by you guys. But you could also work on a color you struggle with, like white or yellow, or try a new technique and get through a model really quickly and learn something while not dealing with a bunch of extra details that don't really add to that learning experience. With the jacket looking great, I start to add in some shading toward the bottom of the coat to increase the contrast around those details, and then I get into highlighting with the brush, which can be a little difficult. This stuff can be a little bit because this detail runs basically top to bottom on this model, and there are a ton of different colors and mixture of colors and different translucencies all across just this single part of the model. So it can be a little bit difficult to figure out what color goes where. But when I'm doing this, I just work with pretty diluted colors, so I'm not making any broad strokes that might ruin something too quickly. I apply a little bit of paint that's diluted, I clean my brush, I feather it out, I check to see if it's matching the color once it's dried, and then I make adjustments as necessary. So just go a little bit slower and a little bit more softly. Now onto the whole red portion of this scheme. I base coated the skin with a mixture of whole red and black, and while doing this, painted his scarf as well. For the skin highlights, I mixed in some of that same orange I used earlier and a bit more white. This orange color keeps the skin nice and warm, and it's a paint that already exists in our scheme. And finally, I don't gotta stand up to get another option, a rare triple win. For the scarf, I mixed in a super vibrant red paint for the highlights, but it didn't feel like enough red on the model, so I also added in a random symbol to his jacket. Simple models like this allow for easier choices because there aren't details covering the model. I can pick and choose what makes sense for my scheme. To get even more mileage out of the whole red, I paint the boots the same base coat as the skin and shade it with Coelia green shade, which is a blue-green wash very similar to our seafoam color, linking up both of our colors in a subtle way. For the shirt, I keep it nice and simple and highlight what was already there with white mixed into our seafoam color. No orange this time, which gets us a cleaner, more neutral color, so it looks distinct, but similar to the jacket. For the remaining details, I paint them in a black color, and then I highlight that with seafoam, but darkened down with black. While I was finishing that, I felt like there wasn't enough whole red, so he got a red belt as well. Now, only a couple of metallic details, and we're done. The big trick on this model is demonstrating how colors can exist all along the value spectrum, which is a fancy term for brightness. High value is bright, low value is dark. Seafoam can be a middle value, like on the jacket, a higher value, like his white t-shirt, or darker, like on the hat and pants. Similarly, I can use whole red on the skin because skin is often warm, a super muddy version for the boots, or more vibrant for the important details by the face. We'd all agree that pants are important, right? Not shorts. Shorts are dumb. I don't want to see your kneecaps. Disgusting. Pants keep you warm, and importantly, they hide your private bits. You know what else could benefit from some pants? web browsers. Luckily, this video's sponsor, Surfshark, can keep your browser's privates nicely concealed. Surfshark's VPN, or pants if you prefer, allow you to use the internet encrypted. That's important because virtually every time you interact with an online entity, you're sharing information back and forth. And when that data is encrypted, it makes it much harder to read or know where it's coming from. That's awesome because it means you can use open Wi-Fi networks with ease, subvert trackers that collect your data to advertise you, and get by digital censorship with region-locked content. That all sounds very technical, but Surfshark enables you to do that with ease. All you do is press one button with their software installed on your machine and you're good to go. It's compatible with all major operating systems and even TVs, consoles, and more. The best part is that Surfshark covers unlimited devices. No need to sign up for multiple accounts. Your entire family is covered. VPNs aren't only about security, however. They also have the potential to save you some money. Monthly subscription services like YouTube Premium will charge more if you live in the US versus somewhere else. So before signing up for any online services, booking hotels, renting cars, purchasing train tickets, etc., you can virtually geo-hop around the globe to get the best deal. Sometimes VPNs can make it challenging to communicate with online apps, like certain banking applications. But with Surfshark's bypassing feature, you can continue to browse the web safely and do your online banking if it's giving you any trouble. Surfshark also has a kill switch feature that disables all internet access to your device should the VPN connection ever become compromised, for times when security is super important. Surfshark provides a lot more than just a VPN service, however. With their alert program, you can get notifications whenever your mail, ID, credit card, or other personal information gets leaked online. Go to surfshark.com/Miniac or use the code Miniac at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN for free. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so no risk in trying it out. All right, back to the video. Okay, first scheme done. Now we're on to royal purple and electric green. To me, royal purple doesn't lean too cold, it doesn't lean too warm. It is like the idyllic purple that you imagine when you think of the color purple. For electric green, very eye-catching, very potent color. If overused, can be a little gaudy in my opinion. So let's see how we can break this down. The main trick I want to use for this mini is to bake our colors into every part of this model. I'll start with the base coat of dark purple. Purple is naturally a dark color and electric green is bright, so I can think of both of them as shadows and highlights respectively. So to leverage that, I'll mix electric green into my purple to get a brighter color for highlighting with, and I'll do that several times to get a green to purple transition all over the model. It's a great trick to think of colors as bright or dark because that helps you put them in buckets. I've always found that limitations really help me with my analysis paralysis while painting minis and thinking of custom schemes. Purple can definitely be a lighter color, but why not work with its natural darkness and electric green's brightness? With that gradient established, I'll hit this model shirt with a purple speed paint from Army Painter, which should take advantage of this undercoat because it is translucent. Admittedly, it looked almost black and not very colorful, which will work for some details, but on this model, I wanted the shirt to be more eye-catching. To fix this mistake, I highlighted the shirt with what I think is royal purple, leaving behind that dark color in the deepest recesses. For the pants, I'm thinking khaki, and I'll reuse that same idea from our undercoat. I'll mix purple into the base tone to get a shadow, and then electric green into the highlights. It's important to note that I'm not mixing a lot of these colors in. I want to get the impact before it's obviously purple or green. If you place this model next to a neutral khaki, you should be able to tell the difference. I find that subtlety works best with this trick, and here's why. I don't know why, but I'm always trying to hide the intent of what I'm doing. I often find that as an artist, when I can look at another piece of art and I can see the tools for how that thing was made, it really just kind of kills that suspension of disbelief. The more that I can wrap someone up in the image of a character that I'm trying to convey and kind of not emphasize the technique being used, the better the paint job, in my opinion. For the face, I'll add in some tribal markings. This character is inspired by the race of Darth Maul in Star Wars, and I'll work around those dark lines with some bright electric green so I can do some highlights. I'm not stressing too much about that though, because there's so much going on with the face that not much additional work is needed to make it look cool. Speaking of looking cool, I'll use the same purple as on the shirt to create some alien eyes. Due to the sci-fi nature of these minis, It's easy to make choices like this without feeling out of place. You can maintain that suspension of disbelief that I mentioned a bit ago. All right, we need a round 2 for working with this undercoat. I got a rich red-brown speed paint that I applied to her jacket, which actually showed up as a color and not something super muddy and dark. I love the combo of this jacket and the khaki pants. It gives me Indiana Jones vibes. Now, just a bit of highlights for the jacket, and we're almost done. I'll work on some of the metal details and use a purple metal paint for some as well to sneak purple into one last part of the Mini, and we're done. The trick on this Mini is to define colors as light or dark, and then use them as shadows or highlights by either mixing them in subtly or using them straight up. Let's compare those khaki pants to a more neutral tan. It definitely made a difference. All right, on to the last viewer-decided scheme, which is black and pink. I got some colors picked out and got stuck in. This time I want to focus on picking materials for the model that makes sense for the colors, letting our scheme inspire the model. Let me show you what I mean by that. Pink is a warm and light color, and a skin tone that's similar to that is Caucasian. With a magenta shadow and some light skin from AK, I begin to build up some highlights on the face, going as bright as pastel pink from the same brand. The skin ends up looking maybe a little too magenta, but I think it will fit in with the rest of the scheme and look unique when compared to other white dudes. Now, when I think of black, our other color, I think of leather. Let's make his vest a shiny black leather. I'll start by mixing some electric green into my black to get a highlight, but that's also slightly green, which would be a good contrast to the magenta of the skin. I made that choice because bright green is opposite pink on the color wheel. To get a convincing leather effect, I keep my highlights super small and bright. There's a lot of back and forth with something like leather, adding more black and brightening little tiny spots. Once I felt like I was getting a realistic look, I moved on to the long sleeve tee, which I wanted to be a focal point for the model. A flamboyant pink shirt is kind of gaudy, so why not lean into it? Let's make his jacket pink and furry. Once I had my magenta base coat done, I mixed more and more of that pastel pink in and started to highlight by adding super thin lines. By dragging my brush across the details of the model, I was giving it a furry texture while also hitting the high spots that I cared about. This worked best on the sleeves. This is a similar color to the face, but I'm not mixing in any of that light skin from AK, so it'll be similar, but less peachy like the face. With that done, I moved on to his scarf and the inside of his long sleeve tee with a bright pink white. It's basically the same color as his furry jacket, but with more of that pastel pink and white mixed in. Now we're doing a black and pink scheme, so how could I not use hot pink, my absolute favorite? First, I base coated the areas I wanted to be hot pink in white because Vallejo fluorescent colors have absolutely terrible coverage. When that was done, I applied the hot pink in several coats over the white until I got that bright, vibrant tone. This model is starting to feel like someone who hits nightclubs on Coruscant, and I love that by just letting the colors guide my imagination, we got something with character. To finish off the model, I painted his pants with the same colors as his jacket, but brighter and also not shiny. While the colors are the exact same, we get some contrast between the pants and the vest because of the brighter value and material choice. And that's the third Mini done and our experiment complete. But why did I skip over orange and teal? That was the #1 voted color scheme. Before I started filming for this video, I'd already painted an earlier model basically in those colors off camera. Whenever I feel a little lost in the hobby, I paint a model like this. It feels amazing to crank out something that looks decent so quickly, and I can do that because, again, the models are simple. No part of painting any of these figures felt like a slog, which can be super rare when painting models from a lot of other brands. Digital sculpting is an amazing tool, but often when zooming into a 32mm model on a 30-inch 4K screen, which is possible with modern tools, one might feel the need to add a lot of extra detail to a model when it's not necessary, robbing painters of a lot of fun choices, like a furry pink jacket. Come on, man, how could you not want that? This kind of model gives me such a burst of joy right when I need it. If you're ever feeling overwhelmed by what you have on your table, take a break and work on something simple. Give yourself 2 to 4 hours in 1 or 2 painting sessions, and I think you'll feel great when you're done. That's gonna be it for this video, guys. If you like videos about color schemes and whatnot, I'll have 2 more linked at the end of this video for you to check out. If you like the channel and you wanna support it, there are a number of ways to do that, all things linked down in the description below. But I wanna shout out today my web store, Miniac.co, where you can get a lot of fun products like a cool Miniac cutting mat with metric on one side and imperial grid on the other, 3mm thick and self-healing. Also, I got my fancy brush coffin with 2 foam trays, fully metal exterior, can be red on the outside or the inside, black on the outside or on the inside. You can also support me on Patreon, which gets you access to my Discord server. Currently, we have a quarterly theme running right now for Trench Crusade, which gets you points toward a painting system. And you can also buy the tools that I recommend on Amazon with the links below. Doing that gets me a little extra bonus money and no extra expense to you. Subscribe or die! And most importantly, don't forget to paint more Miniac!